fam, we are back. I am so okay. Yep. You know I live for an air horn. Son, we're back. And guess what? It's season 3. Is that not wild? This is like our 3rd season of my podcast. I miss y'all. It's like Mondays don't be right. I hope y'all haven't picked up something else to do on a Monday. And if so, I'm gonna knock that out because like this is how we agreed we were gonna start our Mondays. Listen, family, I'm so glad to be here. I hope that you guys have had a great summer. And I just feel like we need to get to business. So one of the things that we're going to do in season 3 is we are going to do more culture codes. So normally, family, you guys know that we would do like one culture code an episode, but seeing as though there's so many things popping off in culture, I'm like, we need to start doing more culture codes. And I might even do them on occasion, even outside of podcast episodes. And so let's just get into it, okay? And I really want y'all to give me your feedback in the comments because I'm looking at your comments and I want us to be able to have the conversation. So today's culture code is called Take Them to Church. Now, you know I'm going to be able to weigh in on this because you guys know that I do all things emotional health, but y'all also, or some people may not know, I love Jesus. I also work for Jesus. And yeah, he's an interesting boss. But I'm going to stick beside him because he be sticking beside me, okay? And so I feel like I am very well versed to talk about these topics. So the first thing we're going to talk about, Stellar Awards outfit appropriateness. So I don't want to talk about whether or not the outfits were appropriate per se. I want to talk about the fact that people are talking about whether or not the outfits are appropriate. And I just don't remember it being this level of hoopla around people's Stellar Awards outfits. And I really feel like I didn't see any outfits that were any different from any previous year. I also want to say something at the onset. I think what's different about this year is that I feel like we are so critical, and I feel like at this juncture, we are critical for sport. And I think it's happening across the board in every single industry that it is almost like we are watching whatever we're watching, whether it be sports, whether it be music, entertainment, our own whatever is put in front of us. It seems like this generation, this age that we're living in, is immediately salivating to try to find something to critique. I think that we really need to watch that. But people are having conversations about whether or not people that are in the gospel music industry should be wearing certain things. And this is my perspective. I think that as long as what somebody has on is not like luring somebody else, if it is that you're in a context where you're representing Christ, I think that it's fine. I think that people having to say something about outfits where people are fully covered, I don't know what else they can cover unless they start looking like the Taliban women. And I don't even know if they're called the Taliban. That's probably not correct. Is it the Palestinians? Whomever culture, because I don't want to disrespect the culture of the women Middle Eastern, where all we can see is their eyes. And I don't want us to get to that point. And we just need to be mindful in gospel. And you know what? Before we go on to the next culture code, I'm going to testify for my own self. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about a story where I, years ago, as a young preacher, went to preach, and y'all, my outfit, I was fully covered. And I remember my skirt was flowy, A-line. It went all the way to the floor, to the point where you actually could not even see the bottom of the heel of my shoe, because that is how long my skirt hit to the floor. And when I was done preaching that day, there was a woman who came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, baby, we were so blessed by your sermon. The hand of the Lord is really on your life. But those heels are way too high. And I just want to let you know." That was devastating for me. It was very discouraging. And I still to this day don't understand it, because my skirt went all the way to the floor. Those types of things, we're missing it. Does that make sense? And so I want us to be more concerned about the heart of the matter, the things that I believe that Jesus is concerned with, especially if something is being done and it is tasteful. I also think that fashion is art. I think that fashion is a space of creativity, and I don't think that everyone is always going to enjoy every exhibit, every art piece, but I think that we need to be really mindful when we are critiquing, how we're critiquing, and also remembering that there's a person on the other side of that critique, okay? So I thought that the outfits were like fine at Stellar's. I didn't see anything that I felt was misrepresenting God in any way. So let me know what you think. The next culture code, Krishan Rock. Now I am going to insert right here a clip, because I have talked about this sweet baby girl in a previous episode. So we're going to insert that.
That's the exciting part. Yeah. Okay, then. Okay, this is what the young people say. Okay, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 9. It said, "Young people, it is wonderful." Okay. Okay, let me stop. I'm getting excited. Young people, it's wonderful to be young. Enjoy every minute of it. Do everything you want to do. Take it all in. But remember that you must give an account to God for everything you do.
Yeah, so she's not new to our podcast. However, she was just preaching a sermon and it was online. So people had a lot to say about her preaching a sermon. And I'm just like, if the baby has an Easter speech and she wants to give her Easter speech, let her give her Easter speech. She has already articulated the fact that she's saved, that she gave her life to Christ. She's trying to walk out her salvation. She has other spiritual leaders around the country that she communicates with, that she brings questions to, and she's trying to work it out. And I think that, am I going to say this? Yes, I am. I think that there's a possibility in some respects that she might be living more godly than some of people that we wouldn't question them taking a text. I think that we need to work out our own soul salvation. The Bible says with fear and trembling. And again, we in the Christian community cannot be so critical all the time of people as they are growing in front of us, because the reality is that a lot of us had the privilege to be able to grow in private. And that makes me think of how many people are not able to transform because they're literally afraid of how people will view them in the not yet. Like, I'm not there yet. And what we don't want to do is make it unsafe for people to transform. That happens all the time. I have clients that come to me about that. People who are genuinely worried about what's going to happen with the current community that I have. Are they going to still accept me as I'm transitioning into something else? And then whether the people who are quote unquote on the other side of where I think I'm trying to get to, will they not accept me as I'm journeying to try to get? It can be a scary place to become what it is that you believe that God has called you to be. And a lot of people don't ever transform to a place of health. I talk about this all the time, out of fear that they're going to lose everything that they've known. They're going to lose the community that they've known, even if it was dysfunctional. The other thing that they're going to lose, family, that we don't think about is the them that they know. This is scary. To heal, to evolve, to ascend, to be whole. And so we have to really be careful, family. So I want to say to this young lady, keep going after God. Keep going after what is positive. And no matter what anybody has to say, in anything you feel like you have to give up in order for you to do that, as I always tell people, there will be people waiting on the other side to receive you in this new you that I want to say was always the real you. Okay. Now, next, are y'all ready? Let's talk about churching on BET. First of all, can we give props to all things Kev on Stage? We just need, Kev on Stage has been out here, and his name is not Kev on Stage. That's first of all, that's the Instagram name. But he has been out here doing Christian comedy for years, and it's been awesome to see the trajectory of his career, to see the tenacity. But he's been, for me, I think, like a mainstay, a consistent figure within Christian comedy for sure. And just to see the open doors that are happening for him and the way in which he highlights all of the funny things about church, because guess what's very funny? Church is very funny, and we need to be able to laugh at ourselves sometimes. And so I think this is like their second season, I believe, which is so awesome on BET. And I love all of the other actors and actresses that are being able to be highlighted, new people that we may not be aware of, and they're getting opportunities. And they are so fun, y'all. I know you've seen the advertisements that they've done recently. I'm not even gonna highlight them. You guys have already seen them. However, let's talk about the fact that these aren't skits. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that these things were not made up, and they're not scripted. And one of the things that I love that Kevin is doing is that as he's highlighting these clips from these actors, which I think is so awesome, he's putting up a couple of seconds to be like, don't shoot the messenger. We're showing you where we got this from. So sometimes, as Karen said, we need to laugh to keep ourselves from crying. But one of the things that I think we need to do, because there is so much truth in art, I think that we need to start, as we're laughing, to examine. I think we need to have the courage as a community to ask, what are we doing? Just making sure that we're maneuvering in a way where our good is not evil spoken of, if that makes sense. That when we get inside of pulpits that are actually supposed to be like holy ground, that when we mount those platforms, that we're doing that with reverential fear, and that we're trying the best that we can to make sure that people can see God and not us. And it's hilarious. And so, like, we have to find the middle ground, right? But it's very interesting, like, what is going on in culture. But I do appreciate our ability to be able to look at ourselves. And a lot of times humor, first of all, is disarming. Humor can be an amazing mirror to show us the things that we sometimes cannot see. And so I'm excited about this new season of this show. And I encourage you to make sure that you support. We want to be able to support all of the great things that people are doing. And so I think that this is dope. Y'all ready for the next? It's all Take 'em to Church. The next one. Is gospel music dead? No. And I want to say this. Erica Campbell, who is, you all might know her, of course, from the gospel group Mary Mary. Erica also is an artist in her own right and has put out a lot of independent projects as well. And I've had the privilege of meeting her. She was so kind, incredibly kind, very humble, just a really beautiful spirit. And I'm highlighting her because very recently, she was on a podcast with Jackie Hill Perry and her husband. I think it's called The Perrys, if I'm not mistaken. You can find it on YouTube. But they had a recent conversation with Erica as a guest, and she was sharing her feedback, which she most certainly, of all people, is a great voice to share because she's had a career in gospel for so many years now. But her feedback was so powerful, so truthful, so honest, but more than that, it was so measured. In addition to that, everything that she said was full of Christ. Like you could feel the heart of Christ in everything that Erica was sharing. And I think that it is the most refreshing discourse that I've seen on the topic, verbal or in comments, on the socials landscape. And so if you haven't already, I really want to encourage you to listen to that podcast episode because it was so enlightening for me. It was so encouraging for me. It was just so like hope filling. One, that everything's gonna be okay. One, that gospel and contemporary Christian CCM music can coexist. That we need, as Erica said, to really do an examination of our hearts, our heart posture, looking at our ego, looking at the root of what we're really trying to accomplish, looking at the root of why we're really upset. I want to encourage everyone to watch this episode. And Erica, I want to thank you um, for who you have been to the gospel music industry, who you still are, and to let you know how much we appreciate you, how much we honor you. And I just pray God's continuous blessings upon you and your entire family for the way you walk in such wisdom in the mantle that God has blessed you with. So let's move to Ask Dr. K. Y'all already know. So we have a question, and this is my first time hearing it, so we're moving off the cuff, but y'all know that's what we do here, right? And so this is what the question says. What's one of the most common patterns you've seen passed down through families that keeps people stuck, and how can they break it? Okay. The most common pattern. There's a couple. One that comes to the two that pop into my head. One, ironically, is financial mismanagement. The second thing that pops in my head is self defeating speech. And those are the two things that popped in my head. And I'm pausing because I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to go after. And I think I'm going to go after the speech one. Family, listen. We are very responsible for how we view ourselves. And what happens is that if you have heard your grandmother, your mother, your aunties saying self-defeated messages to themselves, or if you hear those messages being like flung around at family gatherings, you won't be able to even recognize that as being toxic. We have got to get to the point, one, where we're able to identify this type of speech is not healthy, it's not helpful, it's not positive, and we have to make a conscious decision that I am not going to destroy my own self with my own words. We have to get to the point where, regardless of what my grandmother used to say about herself, regardless of what my mother used to say about herself, and watch this, regardless of what my grandmother used to say to my mother, and regardless of what my mother turned around and said to me, I'm going to be a generational curse breaker. And that before I am concerned with how other people treat me, I'm going to be mindful of the way I treat myself, how I speak to myself, how I view myself, how I care for myself. It is a pattern. Toxic speech. And we have to be careful because words are the way, this whole episode is churchy. Words are the way that God created the earth as we know it. Words are not speech. Words are containers of creativity. And I believe that when people speak things, that they have the power to make those things come to pass. And I really want to encourage someone, when you're done with this episode, to take some time this week and think about this. Does my life right now look like what I speak? Because I want to challenge you that things might look exactly like how you talk. And that if you want any area of your life to look different, I challenge you to shift your speech, to shift the way that you are talking, to shift the way that you are articulating, how you're talking about yourself, how you're talking to yourself, because I believe that you have the power to create something different than what your entire family line may have been able to see. And so I appreciate this question. And I want to challenge you to break the pattern, especially if the pattern is a pattern that is producing something that you do not want. And so let us be careful with how we're painting our lives with our words. And it's so ironic because going right back, circling to what we've talked about in almost every single aspect of each culture code, we've been talking about the concept of being critical, what we're saying when we're viewing things on landscapes. And I really want to challenge all of us, myself included, to be careful that we are not speaking what we say we don't want to see. There is a way to say something without the venom of negative critique. And someone has to be the one to shift the pattern, because what's wild is that families are not the only ones that have patterns. Cultures have patterns. Ethnicities have patterns. Geographical areas can have patterns. And I want to challenge all of us to be the one that just chooses to try to start a different pattern. And that even out of the obedience of one person, that thing can begin to ripple, and we can create patterns of positivity as opposed to patterns of destruction. So let's do better. And let's not just do better, let's do whole. Because I think that this is the Whole You pod. If what we're speaking causes things to be fragmented, disjointed, then that's not wholeness. And so while we want to be whole, let's make sure that we're putting out things that will help for other things to be whole. Wellness is something that you have to have the courage to do, and somebody has to go first, and that might as well be you. And so it's season 3, fam, and we are back at it. I want you to drop in the comment section what you think about the Stellars, what you think about Christian Rock's sermon, what you think about churching on BET. Do you think gospel music is dead? And I don't need you to tell me whether you think Jesus loves white people, because he does. But I want to hear from y'all. Bullet point. I want you to go into the comment and literally just bullet point it. I'm going to respond to every single one of you guys. So we're back. I need you to put me back into your Monday rotation. We're going to be here every single Monday this season without fail. And I'm excited, fam. So yeah, let's do positivity this week, okay? Positive speech. Not positive speech, positive creating, okay? Like, subscribe, share. Y'all already know the deal. And I'm going to see you in the comments, and I'm going to see you next week.